Now here the clock which I'll have to give to my circuit here would be only of 2 nanoseconds because all of these guys operate on 2 nanoseconds only, correct? So what did I do was, we know that time period is inversely proportional to frequency. So here I could reduce my time period from 10 nanoseconds to 2 nanoseconds, and hence I can say that I had improved my frequency considerably. Does everyone agree? Now understand, how is this related to voltage scaling or static voltage scaling? We know that when we scale down VDD, correct, our time delay increases and my frequency decreases. Does everyone agree to that? Now, here I just saw that compared to this case, here my frequency improved 5 times, correct? Because there were 5 stages. Here it was 1 by 10, here it was 1 by 2. So I could improve my frequency 5 times. See, here is a interesting part. In static voltage scaling, you are more concerned in reducing your supply voltage. So tell me, if I keep my time period to 10 nanoseconds only and I don't reduce it to 2 nanoseconds because I'm okay with the delay. If I'm okay with the delay, do you all agree with me? The frequency which was 2 has gone to 10. Do you all agree with me that the time period which was 2 which has gone to 10? Do you all agree with me that VDD can now be made, or VDD star, which is a new VDD, can be reduced by VDD by 5? Why? Because if I had to make it faster, correct, I needed to change my VDD to a higher value, but I made my time period to a higher value. That means I was okay with the delay, and because I was okay with the delay, I kept my frequency as it was earlier. I kept my time period to be 10 nanoseconds only. That's the reason I was okay with the delay, and because I was okay with the delay, I could go ahead and reduce my VDD by a factor of 5. So depending on the number of stages, if you don't think about improving your time period and you are okay with the delay, because of this relation between delay, frequency and VDD, you can go back and change your VDD. Here, time period had increased 5 times, correct? That means I don't want this increase to happen. This increase I don't want. I'm ready to stay here only with 10. I'm giving that headroom for my supply voltage to reduce by a factor of 5, and that's what we exactly do. Again, a fixed value of voltage, supply voltage is scaled down, so it's a part of static voltage scaling. Let's go ahead. The other one was multi-level voltage scaling. Here what we do was we create islands, voltage islands. Let's understand what does this mean. So suppose this is my IC, or this is my block where there are a lot of sub-blocks present or sub-units present. Now, as we discussed that, when we discuss the basic of multi-level voltage scaling, what we are going to do is we are going to have islands of voltages created. So the islands of voltages are created. This can happen at the higher level of abstraction or at the lower level, at the macro level or at the standard cell level. That means nothing but at the transistor level also. So now we have created islands of voltages. One of them could be 1.1 volt, other one could be 1.3, other one could be 1.6, other one could be say 0.9, so on and so forth. So I've created all the different islands of voltages. Now what I need to do is I need to similarly create the islands of my circuits. So all the circuits, I'm going to create small islands of those circuits of my entire circuit, or small blocks into islands. And now these islands which I marked in blue, right, these are my actual blocks. They can operate at different voltages at different instances of time. So at some point of time, say this is the block which we are considering, this can operate on 1.1 at some instant of time. At some other instant of time it can operate on 0.9. At some instant of time it can operate on 1.3, depending on the design that would be designed, or that would be decided at the design time using a tool called static timing analysis, which will see the workload. If the workload is not very high, workload I mean is if it does not have to drive or it does not have to do quite a lot of work, it does not require very high voltage, and at each instant of time, depending on the workload, it will identify which voltage island it needs to connect to and try to reduce our VDD or the supply voltage, and hence we can easily reduce our dynamic power dissipation. So this is nothing but multi-level voltage scaling. Now there are some drawbacks here. Let's understand if this was my block A and because my block B, or in circuit A and circuit B, this block was operating with a voltage island of 1.6 and this guy was operating at 1.2. Sometimes what happens is if this guy needs to communicate with this block, because of the difference in the supply voltages, the output can be corrupted. And to avoid this, what we need is we need level translator circuits which will restore the value of the VDD. So that's one of the drawbacks when one circuit is communicating with the other, or in real time, it means that if one block is driving the other. Generally, it's not called communication, it's called one block driving the other block. If that's happening, you want both of them to have a similar VDD in order to get the correct output. If that's not the case, you need level translator circuits, which is additional hardware. Similarly, the other drawback is, suppose this is block A, at one point of time this is operating at 1.6, at some other point of time it needs to operate at 1.1. It can do it, but then the switching of supply voltages depending on workload from 1.6 to 1.1 again would need some additional hardware or some switching hardware. Along with all this, having such different voltage islands, having the different circuits and placing it on the IC would require proper planning, placement, routing and floor planning, which I'm not getting into the details, but again this is quite challenging on the part of the designer. So this is also one of the issues.